Hey y'all, it's Alexis and welcome to MTV Cribs. Listen, I'm just playing. Y'all know it's Lexx talk about it. But we will be talking about cribs today because, be honest, you know how to buy a house? I don't. So we will be talking to a real estate broker today about how to buy a home and the market today. So come on in.
Hi, I am Jasmin Ivy Williams, the designer agent, the owner of Designer Agents Realty in Clarksville, Tennessee. I am a real estate broker and interior designer.
Can you start off by telling us, how did you get into this industry in general?
Well, full circle, I guess. When I was in high school, my senior year, I worked at a real estate firm and I was a receptionist. But I wish at the time that I had actually put more into it and thought about that as a career, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I do feel like it was kind of full circle. I left college, I got a degree in interior design, and I started working for Sherwin-Williams, which is a paint company. Long hours, everybody's first job out of college,
Yeah.
I thought I was getting paid, low pay. And, just paint everywhere all the time. Like, can't be cute because paint under your nails, paint on your hair, paint everywhere.
It's probably fun though.
Yeah, at times. And then, but most of my customers were like contractors and builders. And I just I had my daughter and I just had this like, light bulb go off in my head. I was like, you know what, I'm on the wrong side of this table here of the transaction. I was like, I need to be, building. I need to be doing something in the housing industry. Because they would be coming in there, asking me for my advice on these $500,000 homes and stuff, and they all using the same cheap products. I'm like, I need to figure out, how I can be on that side of the table. So that's kind of how it started. I moved from Georgia in December 2015 back to Clarksville. And then I had my license by May 2016 or April 2016. I started dibbling dabbling in May, quit my job in July.
Okay. Immediately.
And I was like, I'm ready to get up out of here. So I transferred to Sherwin-Williams up here, but then they bamboozled me, paid me less and all that kind of stuff.
Oh man.
So
not in this economy.
Okay. I mean, even that one, it was back then. Right. But I was like, I got to get up out of here. And so in my mind, I'm like, I got a real estate license and I'm about to start making money.
Yeah.
Like, what's up? I got this license. That means automatically I'm about to start reeling in the funds. It's not like that at all.
Okay.
So all y'all newbies out there who be like, oh, I just got my license, I'm finna run up a bag. It's not likely.
That's crazy because I feel like I've seen people on social media talking about 1 month your income is $0. The next month you may make a couple thousand. So it really is like that.
It really is like that. So I was fortunate enough to sell my first home in August. So, I quit my job in July and sold my first house in August. And it was to a college friend of mine. And then, but after that, desert. Like tumbleweeds.
Oh my goodness.
Wasn't nothing going on. I had no clients. I'm just out here trying to figure it out. And, it was just, I had a little bit of experience with entrepreneurship before. I started a body butter business called Bunny Butter. And I just realized that those margins were not where I wanted them to be. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I got to sell how many jars of
equivalent to how many houses?
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to lay that to the side. Now I still make it, but just for myself. And I was like, nah, we finna start selling houses. So my next property was I sold a quadplex for my dad. And he's the worst client I've ever had.
Don't do your dad like that.
The worst.
Okay, I understand. So can you talk to me about, from then to now, what can you talk to us about your journey?
I'll say I wouldn't trade it. I think that every day in real estate is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Things are always changing. There's always ebbs and flows. I think that I'm a much better person now. I think the more you accomplish with your own efforts, the more confident you become. So I think that, starting from nothing, basically, and no experience to now I've been doing this, 8+ years. and being able to sustain myself without a job for all that time, I'm just proud of myself. So
I think it makes you appreciate it more too. Like that, instead of it just be giving it to you, you went through the process of trials and tribulations, and now it's like you owned it.
Yeah. Yep. From, being an agent, working under people and them taking 30% of your money.
Oh my goodness.
Transferring brokers because of, people's behaviors and different things, to, being with a broker you thought you were going to be with maybe for your whole career, and then them dissolving their brokerage, and then you'd be like, okay, well, maybe I should start my own.
And that's kind of how that came about. So do you have a team under you right now?
I just have one girl, and I didn't get into the business necessarily to, as a broker, to necessarily have a bunch of people under me. But I would like to grow it in the future, I think, now that I'm going to have an office.
Yeah.
But, it's just us two, and I'm fine with that. I don't need look, if you can't come on the team if you're going to be trying to give me a headache, okay?
So please, no headaches.
No.
We're going to bypass that.
Right. I'm there for you. You can call me if you need me, but I need people who are self-sufficient and who are just looking for some guidance at times.
Listen, speaking of guidance, we're going to talk about buying a house in general. I'm going to be honest, y'all. I don't know how to buy a house, but that's why we're here. So can you talk to me about the first steps as like a first time buyer? You're in the market, like just say how we're in Nashville. What do you do first?
Well, buying a house isn't common sense. I mean, people be like, why not, but I feel like it's something that we should be teaching our children.
Yes.
That being said, the first step I feel like is financial literacy. So, from young, we should be teaching our children financial literacy so they know the value of ownership. And so the first step is financial literacy. Know your credit score, know your debts, your DTI, debt to income, and just being well equipped to pay bills on time and to be responsible. That's the first step. Okay. If you're not responsible, don't buy a house. If you can't pay your bills on time, don't buy a house. If you are somebody who's not concerned about their credit score, you probably cannot buy a house. And you have to be concerned about your debt. So,
So the first step is financial literacy. Okay.
Yes.
But sometimes I feel like they really don't teach that in school either. No. They teaching.
My parents ain't teach me that, and they ain't teaching in school either. My mom like, save your money, girl.
Right.
Save
Go to college.
Right.
Save your money.
Right. For what? What am I saving for?
Right.
Exactly.
So talk to us about the next step after that. Like, okay, I have the financial literacy. Where do I actually go to look, or who do I talk to? Like, is this the research process after that, or?
I'll say always go with somebody you trust. So whoever it is you trust, like who's around. So if you know me and I'm a realtor and I can tell you, come to me first. But more than likely, I'm going to tell you to schedule a consultation. We're going to go through all the steps, and I'm going to be like, reach out to a lender. Because at the end of the day, I can help you with the purchase of the home, but I can't give you the money.
Okay. So you need to reach out to a lender or a bank?
Yes, a lender.
Get that loan. So
I prefer mortgage lenders over banks because they usually are more flexible.
Okay.
Banks can be sometimes more rigid in their qualifications. Also, a lot of times what people don't realize is like when you close with people like Bank of America, Navy Federal, the person that you're working with isn't local.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They're like probably in Texas or DC,
phone,
Virginia,
right? Yeah.
And it sometimes or all the time in real estate, time is of the essence. So if you need a pre-approval, which you have to get started, it may take, more time to get in touch with somebody. Whereas if you have somebody local, you can text them and be like, hey, can you change my pre-approval amount? Or can I afford more? Can you up my pre-approval?
Gotcha.
And so it's just more like a relationship, personal thing where it's like, it's easier to work with somebody local. You can have more of a relationship.
I can imagine that too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, can we meet today so we can talk about this pre-approval?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that like having a rapport like that would be easier for anything, to be honest. Okay, so after that, I'm thinking about like, being a first time buyer. What type of resources are out there for like, are there any programs that people should know about in that regard?
And so my other advice, because like that's the second step really, is just reaching out to the lender so they can pre-approve you. And if you've done all the work of financial literacy ahead of time, you shouldn't have, when you call to them, they shouldn't have a problem with approving you.
Okay.
But in the event that you don't get approved, you should be working with a lender who is going to tell you, okay, it didn't work out because of this, this, and this. Change these things and come back to me. You shouldn't work with anybody who like, oh, sorry, you can't buy a house.
Time, yeah.
Right.
Apartment.
You should be working with somebody who can help you through those steps. And so, like, if people want to really know further, I would say, yeah, schedule a consultation with me because it's long.
Gotcha.
We ain't gonna take up all that time.
But that's good to know, just because I really, you'll just Google something like, okay, should I get on Zillow and start looking for people there? Like, you really just don't know. I think the problem is they don't have the resources or just don't know where to start. So I'm glad that you put that out there.
Yeah,
so,
ask a friend. Yeah, ask me, ask a friend. I can refer you in different states and stuff like that too.
Gotcha.
And then also what you were saying about the programs, right now there's a Welcome Home program and it is a grant. And so a lot of times this grant money runs out. And so if you're, teetling around or whatever and you like, oh, I'll do it later, sometimes
it won't be later.
Right, the money won't be available. So there are grants out there to help you with your down payment and some of it closing costs. So the way the market is right now, it's a market that I can negotiate closing costs.
Okay.
So those are the big two like financial things as far as like out-of-pocket expenses for buyers is going to be closing costs and down payment. And usually you need about 3 to 3.5% for your down payment and closing costs. So you're looking at like, roughly 6 to 7% to put down depending on your financial scenario. Because, everything fluctuates. Your interest rate is going to fluctuate. How much money you put down sometimes can fluctuate based on your financial health.
I was about to ask that too. Yeah. Like the housing market seems crazy right now, but you were just talking about it fluctuating. Can you talk to us about why that's happening? Like what's going on right now? Because I think it's hard to live right now.
So, it's supply and demand. And so right now the supply is more than the demand. Because the interest rate is higher, there are less buyers buying. Because whereas during the pandemic and the interest rates were super low, the financial qualifications, more people fit in those boxes of the financial qualifications.
Oh, okay.
Now that the interest rate is more, which means that the mortgages for the same price homes that you could buy like 2 years ago, you're going to pay more in mortgage for those homes because of the interest rate.
And I think around the time the interest rate was like 2.5, we're never going to see that.
Maybe not. And a lot of people feel like that's normal. Oh, I'm going to wait until the interest rate's going.
Listen,
like even
wait if you want to.
Right. Even the numbers that we're at right now, like some high 4s, 5s and stuff, some 6s even, like when you talk to like baby boomers and like older people, they were paying like 12% interest and more, like credit cards to buy these homes. Now, mind you, it's just different the day and age, but mind you, their houses probably were like $30,000 or $40,000.
I was just about to say, like our parents, I was just talking to my mom recently about that, and she was like, well, y'all making more money now. We are, but the cost of living, my rent is like almost $2,000.
Yeah.
So how much was your rent 20 years ago? It was not that.
No.
So,
but that's just how it is. It's like a graph. And it's like the more the cost of living that goes up, the homes go up.
Yeah.
And it should be that the wages are increasing in the same capacity, but they're not.
And that's the real problem.
That's the real problem.
When y'all gonna fix that? Okay.
We want to know.
Okay. For real, just because, I don't know. I literally talk to my friends and talk to people all the time about the struggles of literally just trying to get somewhere day to day. Like I'm sure everybody wants to buy a house, but even in Middle Tennessee, like the population in Nashville is going up. And that makes a lot of sense what you said about the demand versus the supply. So.
And so like, I feel like in Nashville, people want to move here just because we got like all 4 seasons. We're centrally located pretty much. You can get to Atlanta in 4 hours.
Right.
You can get to Louisville in 3 hours. We got a lot of like neighborhood and like sub cities and stuff surrounding Nashville. People love Southern people.
Come on. Nice Southern hospitality down here. I do
exactly.
like it.
And just in general, I feel like we're not the highest cost of living and we're not necessarily the lowest, but we're kind of like in between there. And I think people just like it here. Like,
I like it too, but it's crazy just to see how it's evolving. Like headquarters are here, some big companies. People are coming here. I mean, that's always been the case, but for the bachelor parties and stuff, like, that's usually what people go to Vegas for. Yeah. They're like, oh no, we're going to come to Nashville because it's nice here.
Yeah, it ain't us though, girl. I always say that Nashville is the white Atlanta because we flock to Atlanta for those type of activities and they flock here.
Honestly, though, it's like I've been here since 2015 and I've been having a good time. I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, it's not enough spaces for Black people. Like, you have to find them and they're coming up. Honestly.
Yeah,
like
you have to be locked in. And I feel like, me in the past being a socialite, I dibble and dabble, but I'm not in the streets as much anymore. But I'm still locked in, and you have to get locked in wherever you move. If you don't talk to people,
right,
then how are you going to know where to go? And I feel like that's also my job as a realtor, to be in the know of what's happening in the cities that I service.
And I'm glad you said that because I want to talk about like, how do you determine what's a good area to move into when you're buying a house, or how does that come about in general?
First of all, how much money you got?
Okay. How much money you got?
And your budget is going to determine your area. I'm sorry. So I feel like one thing that we don't talk about in general is how being poor is a safety concern.
Yeah.
And so the less money you have, the more likely you don't live in a safe area. So if that's not motivation to like get up and start trying to figure out your hustle to figure out how you're going to have a safe place for your children, being poor is dangerous.
But look, you play too much, but I agree. But I'm also thinking like, I don't think nobody wants to be poor.
No, they don't.
What is the answer for like, okay, my family is from North Nashville. So, not me literally, but we from North Nashville. We want to get out of North Nashville. They're gentrifying the city.
You don't need to leave North Nashville. That's the problem.
Okay.
Lift up your own neighborhood. Where are you going?
Like, so where you going? Stay where you at.
Right, stay where you at.
Okay.
Like, we need to be having these conversations with grandma and them. Like, hey, pass me your home or sell me your home. Let me pay you without going to a bank monthly for this house.
Wow. Yeah.
Then there's no interest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you can set your payments how you need to, Tell me your question again, because I feel like we got off subject.
Oh, no, you're good. I was actually about to go into, how we were just talking about like Black spaces. I want to talk about disparities. Is it true? Well, I'm sure it's true, but can you talk to me about, Black people having issues with buying homes because of disparities and like...
Girl.
Yeah.
So it's a historical thing. I actually sent out a newsletter about it during Black History Month. But redlining was the thing in the past. And what people don't realize is that a lot of the things that happened previously, it may have been 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, is still affecting us to this day. So redlining is basically when lenders, and I feel like it's still happening today, they basically would look at a map of a city and they would circle in red the areas that they didn't want to give loans to in those areas.
And they do that by zip code?
Not necessarily. It's like, okay, we think Black people live over here. Let's, we're not going to be giving out loans in this area.
Wow.
And the other thing that came along with that, they call it was termed white flight. So basically, what they would do on purpose is like go scare white people and be like, Black people starting to move into the neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
To make them go sell their properties.
Wow.
And then the neighborhoods would turn Black or whatever. Black people start moving in, and then that's how the basically the movement from like downtown to like the suburbs worked. We lived in downtown.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as, we want to move to the suburbs, then they flee in downtown.
Yeah. And we got to get away from
right,
it. Okay.
Exactly. And so that's how it kind of like, ebbs and flows, where it's like Nashville even. I'm from the area, and so Nashville looks nothing like it did in, let's just say, 2000. It was that situation. Nobody was living downtown in Nashville 2000. It was all us.
Wow.
All Black people, all these little neighborhoods around here, it was all Black homes.
It's changing every day. I've been here since 2015. I literally drive down like, Jefferson, Rosa Parks, and it's like just big gentrified houses everywhere. Even
Belmont, Vanderbilt area, those houses around there, like they were the help.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like people were living, Black people, and there's always some affluent Black people as well. And I feel like people think about North Nashville as being like this like lower part of town, but that's where the elite Black people lived. Yeah, it's a bunch of custom mid-century modern homes over there that need some love, and I need to buy one.
So call me.
Right. Look, So, yeah, it's not like North Nashville is close to downtown. Some of the places over there even got views. North Nashville is it.
Yeah.
So like,
that's good to know.
And
like
so if you're
Nashville
thinking
now.
about, like, that's what you asked. If you're thinking about a neighborhood, you really got to think about your price point. Where can you afford to live? And I feel like start there.
Yeah. I just think it's hard, man. And I'm asking because, and that's really why we're here, because me and my best friend, we were looking to move or at least start with a townhouse. Like, and we were like, we don't know if we should go from an apartment to a townhouse to a house because of how expensive it is or the process. You think that's the best way to go?
Yeah, people don't sacrifice enough. And I feel like that's my whole story.
Yeah.
Is sacrifice. Like, I went for a long time without having a lot of the stuff that I wanted to try to, build my business and stuff. And so you do have to start from the bottom, not be cheap.
Justin.
Don't be cheap. But be aware of, what it means to have more disposable income. So like you and your friend, y'all buy a house together.
Right. That's what we've been talking about. We like, where do we
you
start?
And your cousin, first cousin, brother, family go in and buy a house together. And, it's basically, it's similar to stocks. I mean, like when you need to sell it, whatever that lump of money is that y'all are going to make, split it based on however y'all decided to pay for the house. If you were paying 40% of the bills and she paying 60, whenever y'all sell it, you get 40, she gets 60. Or, however that goes. Because sometimes maybe you might have the better credit score, but she got the down payment money. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And y'all figure out how to work together.
Yeah, make a sacrifice. Okay, cool.
And it may not be in the area you want to be in. And it may not be the property that you want.
Just at that time.
It's
all temporary.
But that is how you get to wealth in real estate is your first property. I tell everybody your first property is your first investment.
That's good, yeah.
Yep.
Can you talk to me about what are some key factors to consider when choosing a neighborhood in Nashville or Middle Tennessee in general?
Now, if you have the money and you're like, oh, the real estate market is my oyster, then I would consider what you like to do. So, or if you have children. So if you are a single person, then it's based on, know, what you like to do. Everybody wants to live near the activities that they like to participate in. So I would say if you're somebody who's a golfer, you probably don't want to live downtown. Right. You want to live in Brentwood or Hendersonville or somewhere with a nice golf course. If you're somebody who, wants a homestead, you probably gonna have to be outside the city, So it really just depends on values and the type of person that you are. I would look at safety, but I feel like Nashville in general right now is such a, like you can turn the corner, okay, and it might be a very nice house,
literally, and then right down
the street is a bando. So it just. I feel like it's getting to where it's less of that, and it's a bittersweet moment. Yeah. But if you're more of a neighborhood, family-friendly person, I would say definitely like in the inner city is probably not where you want to be. Yeah. Maybe 12 South, but I would consider family lifestyle, your personal lifestyle, physical lifestyle as far as like parks and physical activity if you want to live somewhere near like that. Downtown's still okay, but it just depends on your lifestyle, really. Yeah, gotcha.
How important is it for buyers to consider like future resale values or property values when purchasing a home in general?
That's important too, and I feel like everybody has a different reason for wanting to buy a home. Some people are investors and they buy strictly for the purpose of investing and making money quickly, either with a flip, long term, with rentals, or whatever they're looking to do as far as an investment. And so they have a different goal. If you're somebody who, is looking for generational wealth, but don't want to really be a real estate investor per se, then you just need to find something that you can afford, that 2 years to 3 years down the line, you will have made some money enough to upgrade to your next property. And you just keep doing that. And then by the time you have 5 houses.
Look, okay? And a duplex.
Right, okay. Exactly. And the other people buy because they have a whole bunch of money and they don't like that house no more. And we're not in that. And that's one thing that real estate has opened my mind to, is because when you're in a certain price bracket, the way you think about everything is about the scarcity of money. Some people don't care.
Literally.
They don't care. They
they
will
don't have
literally
to.
go buy a $3 million house and then make $1 million worth of renovations, even though the house was already beautiful, just because it wasn't exactly what they
wasting
wanted
money,
it to
yeah.
be. And so
I feel like when people have money, they can do that though. They do what they
exactly.
want to.
So it really is. It depends on the buyer. It depends on the person.
Can you share some inside tips for negotiating the best deals when you buy a house?
Hire a seasoned realtor who has been through a couple of different shifts in the market and can understand what to offer and when based on the market conditions. So also like be okay with losing. So like if you don't want to negotiate, if you're not okay with losing, you can't negotiate. You're not a negotiator because whatever somebody comes to you with, you're like, okay, I'll take it. You know,
Right.
You got to be okay with the outcome because you might put in something and somebody be like, nah, I'm straight. You know, I'm not going to reply to your offer. I'm not, I'm not going to counter or anything. And so that's the number one thing when negotiating. You have to be willing to lose.
Good to know. Be all right to lose. Be okay to pass on it. You know, you don't have to take the first offer.
Yes,
I
but
feel like
also
people always do that. They jump on something, but I'll take it. I'll
Right.
take whatever because you know the market crazy. Like they just trying to get what they can.
But like I said, also an experienced realtor. Don't if the house costs $300,000 and you go in offering $250,000, come on now.
You're supposed to be serious.
let's be for real. And so there are some unrealistic people out there who feel like they should be able to do that from whatever perception that they have that somebody told them or whatever. I would never offer more than like I would see what as far as the comps are concerned, what the house was worth based on the comps, and I would never really offer less than like $10,000 in that price bracket.
Okay.
So like in the $300,000 range, I probably wouldn't offer less than, $290,000.
Okay. And I think I'm glad we talking numbers because there's so much misinformation out there. Like you said, you have to have an experienced realtor. You just like, oh, my friend knows somebody that knows how to do this. It's like you really have to sit down and talk to someone seasoned to get what you need because it is the longevity of the investment is important. Like I get that.
And I feel like a part of my job is, because I work with investors, is to seek out that number of before repair value and after repair value.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So you have your after repair value and your before repair value. And what you need to do is find out, that's how you figure out how much equity you have in your property. So if you got a house and it's nice, maybe they upgraded the kitchen, but the bathrooms are still not upgraded, there's still room for improvement in that house, and there's probably still some equity in that house. That being said, me being a designer and a renovator, you have to put a price tag on what that bathroom is worth.
Okay.
And so don't ever go above what we could possibly get back out of it. So you don't want to have a $30,000 bathroom renovation in a $300,000 house.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
And look, I know you said that you're into interior and construction. Can you talk about that side of this industry as well?
Yeah, I mean, I mainly work with investors, so I usually work on the side of flips. And so just making homes look more attractive to gain the most amount of buyers in a short period of time. You know what I'm saying? Looking at it. And they usually, and I feel like where my nuance comes in is that I know how to make stuff look expensive without it being expensive. So there's a difference between quality and things being inexpensive and things being cheap. To me, cheap says not good quality. It's not going to last. It won't stand the test of time.
Maybe frugal. Maybe frugal.
Yeah, frugal. And I think if you can tell what something is when it comes to quality, like craftsmanship, and was something constructed well, did they put time into, the seams? Because that's how you can really tell if a builder is a good builder.
I'm like, oh, okay, I see those cracks up there.
Now, that happens. That's just settlement cracks.
That's settlement cracks.
Yeah, but as far as like trim, you going around looking at the trim, trim looking like this, or, you didn't caulk all these areas and stuff. It's different ways to understand like craftsmanship and stuff like that. But I feel like when it comes to design, it's an intrinsic value thing. So some people really, really value the way things look, and other people don't care, because I've been in some houses. Okay.
And you need to care because you're going to live there.
Yeah, but people don't care.
They need to.
Yeah, they should, but they
don't. I want to talk more about back on construction. So say if I'm building from the ground up, like how does that process work about getting the land and the blueprints of the house. Like, I don't know.
That's way different. And it really is a DIY situation.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much you need to know from building from the ground up. I mean, so first of all, you got to find land where you want to be. Then after that, you need to make sure there's no restrictions on the land. Because in real estate, there can be like covenants and restrictions basically limiting you to what you can build on that property.
Right.
There's that. And then there's also finding an architect. There's also finding a builder, which good help is hard to find. And I'm not diminishing architects or builders to the help, but finding quality builders and people to help you with those things to be trustworthy is hard to do.
Yeah.
And people who are going to make sure you stay on your budget and all that stuff, it really is going to take a team. And I think a lot of people don't realize when you're custom building, it is what it says. And if you go buy a custom dress, does it cost the same as the one you bought off the rack?
It does not.
So if
you learn something new every day, I swear. I asked that because my mom and my stepdad, they just built their house from ground up. And she was like, this is way beyond what I thought. Like, every little detail is something that you decide.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to make that many decisions.
Yes. And so when people be like, oh, I bought a new construction home, they may have not picked anything, honestly, because sometimes I'll go into a new construction situation and the builder has already selected all their finishes. Now, some builders, like I feel like in Clarksville, in different builders, they kind of give you more selection. So you might be able to pick your backsplash, you might be able to pick your lighting, you might be able to pick your countertops, flooring, paint color on the walls. That's the extent of it. But the builder, they have handled everything for you. Everything else. You're not picking out trim. You're not picking out window sizes. You're not picking out where you want to put your master closet. You're not picking out.
I need to.
Right. You're not picking out your pantry size. Nothing. It's not a custom home. It's just a new construction home. And that's the difference between a new construction and a custom. When they say custom, they mean like you literally work with an architect or you bought plans based on what you wanted and had a builder build it to spec based on those plans.
Wow, you learn something new every day. That's good to know. I want to talk about mortgages versus renting. What would you recommend and why?
So everybody knows what renting is. You find a place that somebody else owns and you pay them money every month to be able to stay in that place that somebody else owns. So if you own it, that means you're responsible for the HVAC system. You got to change out all the air filters and light bulbs and everything. You're responsible if you break the door or put a hole in the wall. Sidebar, I feel like every homeowner should know how to patch a wall.
Yeah. Should
know how to change your air filter, the little stuff. So if you're thinking about that and then you think about renting, and like you said, you pay almost $2,000 a month in rent. By the time we get to the end of this year, you will have paid $24,000 in rent.
Which is sick.
And I'm not saying that you can go without paying any money to save per se, but you could have put that whatever money into a property that you own.
Literally, that I could have, because once I leave that property, they're going to have my money and I won't have any attachments to that property.
You won't. And so that being said, it doesn't necessarily work exactly that way. Like, oh, paying $2,000 a month for my mortgage, and by the end of the year, I've paid $24,000 into my mortgage. No, it's interest, and they break it up different ways. And the first couple years of owning a home, you pay the most amount of interest. But there's ways to combat all of that. Back to renting versus mortgage. Having a mortgage is like basically having a savings plan. If you are strategic about how you pay off your home, because let's face it, most people, don't have $250,000, $400,000 laying around in cash. Just like,
here you go.
My new home. Most people have to go to a bank and to get the money to purchase a home. And so that being said, being strategic about, how much money you borrow from the bank, how you strategically pay off that loan based on an amortization chart, you can literally figure out how you want to pay off your house and how quickly based on an amortization chart. Usually loans are 30 years. And so if you don't want to spend the next 30 years paying for a house, if you pay one extra payment for a month, or a year, one extra payment a year, then you can knock down 7 years off of the mortgage.
That is crazy. I was literally about to ask about the length of that too. Like, is it 30 years or 20 years for a mortgage?
30 years. Now, I always tell people though, if you're going to get a mortgage, get the least amount you can get. What if you're in a situation where you can't pay extra?
Yeah, then people bite off more than they can chew.
Yeah, don't bite off.
Time.
Right, don't do that.
Same thing with car notes. Oh yeah, my car. I love my car. My car note $800.
Girl, we don't want to talk about my car note.
Listen,
but
because how much is that? That's a lot.
It's a trade off though.
Yeah,
you know, you gotta, and that's what renting versus mortgage is. It's a trade off. You have to decide what it's worth in investment versus not having anything. Do you want? I feel like I know people who still don't own, and they've gone their whole lives renting, and at some point they could have sold a property for money, and they would be in a better financial position.
And it starts with financial literacy.
Yeah, and so I just sold my uncle a house 3 years ago, and he was 65 or 68 or something when I sold him the house.
And that was his first house?
That was his first house.
Oh, I know that was special though, but it's like, dang, did it...
He wasn't even thinking about buying a house. He was living with my grandma. My grandma was like, get him about here.
Get that man out of my house.
And so I was like, oh, let me buy him a house. And it was a tough, you know, working with family, sometimes it can be tough. But he was a veteran, so he got a VA loan. He had a very small budget, but I found him a cute little 2-bedroom house in Kentucky. I'm also licensed in Kentucky, soon to be Arkansas. But I got him a little, how much was that house? I think it was like, I want to say like 115, 120. Little 2-bedroom house. He has like a half acre. The house right now is probably worth like at least 165.
Wow.
3 years. And so that's gonna be my house though, by the way. So
look, that's why I started to him to get it back.
Right. No, but yes and no. And I feel like he feels like proud, like a sense of ownership gives you I feel like overall, if you're really thinking about home ownership versus renting, people value the things that they own more. I feel like it creates safer neighborhoods. People who own care about the safety of their neighborhood. They care about their investment. People who rent, you know, they don't necessarily care. They be like, oh, you know, like it's like you get a rental car. You be driving that rental car, going over all the speed bumps.
Literally, like, oh, it's fine. I'm returning it.
Right.
I think about that too with neighborhoods because you know how you would see trash in your apartment complex.
Exactly.
It's like you wouldn't do that if you owned your space.
Exactly.
Like, pick up the trash.
Unless you're just trashy.
Yes.
And there are some situations like that because, you know, ownership, sometimes there's passing down of property. And if it's heir property, then sometimes, you know, that grandson who is on drugs might end up owning grandma's house. Right.
What are you going to do with it?
But he might be the only heir.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and so there's situations like that. So every situation is not the same.
That's too funny.
But, yeah.
I'm glad for your uncle though, man.
Yes.
Oh, I know he's there happy just now. Okay, we're going to talk more about amenities. What amenities or features are particularly sought out when people buy homes? Like when people walk in, what do they usually look for first?
Depends on the age. So I say my younger clients, they like this. They're like, oh, I want white cabinets. I want these granite countertops, quartz countertops. They kind of want the sleek, modern look. They just want to make sure it looks fresh and new. They're more concerned about aesthetics. I would say more like middle age to older people. They're like, is it functional? No stairs.
Yes.
They're like, is the kitchen, can I move around? If I got a walker, if I got a wheelchair, you know, can I, you know, is my bedroom on the first level? You know, those type of things. So it's more so about that. And I feel like the more money you have, the more you can be concerned about amenities. And then not just that, a home isn't, you know, a house is just a house until you make it a home. What Luther say?
Okay.
Right. And so you make it homely. You make it be what you want it to be. And so we talked about starting from the bottom. If you moving in with your roommate and y'all are doing this investment thing together and y'all only have money just to get the property, but the kitchen, you know, y'all need to either start figuring out how to DIY some stuff. You know, call maybe somebody, a design friend who can give you some tips on how to make it look good with inexpensive things. The cheapest way to transform a space, and this is what I learned from Sherwin-Williams. Look at him.
Because I need to know.
He like, the cheapest way to transform any space is with paint. You can make anything look more dramatic with paint, whether you paint something darker, lighter, you paint something all one color, and that's like a trend right now, is they call it color washing or color saturating, where you literally paint every surface the same color, which is monochromatic tones.
And it's like, I feel like sometimes that accent wall would just give it that pop, like, yes.
Sometimes I do feel like some accent walls, like depending on how you do it, it's dated. Like some stuff is trendy, but that's why you got to be like patient enough to be able to do some little DIY stuff like that yourself. You should have to call somebody to paint one little wall in your house. You should be able to do it.
I also don't want to mess it up. Like, and you know what? I think I'm glad you said that. YouTube, yes, TikTok. I'm glad you talked about that, because I always thinking about like darker colors versus lighter colors, because if you paint a black wall, would that make the room smaller? Like, how do you determine colors, I guess? Like,
yeah, it can. It like there's a whole breakdown of colors. There's color psychology, and so there's different colors that make you feel different things. So yellow is really energetic and vibrant. That's why a lot of McDonald's are yellow, and fast food restaurants are yellow and red. They don't want you to stay there and enjoy your food. They want you to get out. That's why the colors in the restaurant are yellow, orange, and red. If you go to, J. Alexander's or somewhere, they got the lights dim. They be having ambiance. Yeah. Those are places they want you to stay longer because they make it more comfortable. And so, they might have earth tones that make you feel grounded and comfortable and safe. And so that's how you think about colors when designing. So yeah, this space, there's a lot of light coming in. It can stand to have a darker color on the wall. If you got like a little 8x10 room, I wouldn't recommend putting a dark color on the wall, on all of the walls anyway. You can do it in a way that it will make the space look longer. Like if you think about geometric shapes in a box, a square, if you put a dark color on the ceiling and then on the back wall that you want the accent, that will make the room appear longer.
Wow.
So it's basically like,
I get that. Same way with curtains, how like they'll elongate the wall.
Yeah.
If you have curtains. Look, I know a little.
Yeah. They draw your eyes up. And so this house doesn't really need it because it already has tall ceilings. But some, like my office, the way I did my wainscoting on my wall, I did it further up on the wall because I only have 8-foot ceilings, just to give that,
That's also
appearance.
important. It's so much going into designing and construction and building. Okay, cool. I'm glad we talked about colors. Okay, what you personally, what are some of your pet peeves with buyers?
Let's see. So definitely unrealistic expectations. I'm not a doctor or a lawyer, but I tell people, if you lie to me, I can't help you. And
simple. And I'm gonna find out how much you make.
Well, even if it's not like the number of how much you make, at some point I'm gonna find out you're not financially capable to buy this home, which I don't usually have those type of problems because I send them to a vetted lender, and the lender will do all of the scrubbing financially. I kind of try to stay out of that stuff as much as possible. But as far as just unrealistic expectations, like, okay, maybe for $250 4 years ago in Clarksville, you can get a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. Nah.
Wow. So no.
Yeah, no. And so if you do get that for $250, you're gonna have to put $100,000 worth of renovations in it.
That's crazy. And 4 years ago?
Yeah. So that being said, the market in Tennessee has exponentially grown to where the home prices are way more than they were a few years ago. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, just unrealistic expectations and not being honest with me about anything.
Yeah.
One of my customers left me a review and she was like, basically saying all the good things about me. And she was like, a pro about me was that she said something to me like, hey, I want to communicate with you more. And that I started communicating with her more, the way that she wanted me to. Because sometimes there's the expectation, you don't meet somebody's expectation in their head. And if you don't know, you just don't know. So be honest.
Be real with yourself.
And realistic. Yeah. Let me know what you're looking for and what your expectations are. And I can help you be realistic as well based on the knowledge that I have.
Can you share the strangest? Can you share a most unexpected situation you have encountered with clients before?
I would say the most frequent, you know, at this point, I think I do expect it. But it's just like, guys, like, if you're not really trying to do business, don't come over here.
Man, what?
Trying to like act like you're trying to buy a house and you really just trying to get my phone number.
Acting like you trying to buy a house is crazy. Come on, it's not that serious.
It's not. Or just acting like you want real estate advice, but really you just trying to talk to me on the phone. Like, come on. I
can only imagine, especially in this industry.
Yeah, and I've just gotten weird messages, weird texts, weird DMs from people, and I'm just like, ew.
Like, please, business only.
Yeah,
keep it cute.
Yes.
Okay?
And the other side of it is, if you do like me, there's no way I'm gonna go talk to you if you use another realtor.
Somebody use somebody else, that won't happen at all.
No.
What's the craziest home renovation or design idea a buyer has proposed to you?
I do crazy stuff all the time. So one of my main investors, he is very specific about the type of properties that he buys. But I have been into nasty places that you cannot even believe that somebody lived there.
Some hoarder type vibes.
I'm talking about dog poop, and like the smell is just so strong that even when you rip up the carpet and stuff, that you can see the stains on the subfloor, and it still has a smell.
That's a lot.
And I'm talking about the walls are so brown because somebody smoked in there for 15 years. The walls started turning brown, girl.
That does happen. Ooh.
And like rats, bugs, just. And people literally were living there in those deplorable conditions, and I just can't believe it. And so, you know, we always go from drab to fab when it comes to. So I would just say, like, it's not necessarily like I feel like everything can be fixed. I'm a renovation person. I like turning, ugly things beautiful. So, but yeah, it's some nasty places out there.
Listen, I can only
you just gotta have some imagination.
Yeah, we don't want to see nothing nasty,
girl.
Okay. True or false? Women on average buy more houses than men. If that is true, why is that?
I don't know the stats, but I will say that I do know a whole lot more single women who own than I know single men who own. There's just things changing. Things are changing. We were talking about this earlier. I think I'm a traditional modern woman, whereas like I still want my man to handle certain stuff.
Yeah.
But as a woman, I know that I have to, until that situation is what it is, I got to provide for myself. And I want the life that I want for myself and my daughter. And so I have to provide those things. And we're getting smarter. Yeah. And we're realizing, right?
I was just about to say
we can do it without you. Why would we wait until we find you to buy, when I feel like I would much rather be coming to a situation where I have a house and you have a house and we have options.
Literally. I feel like it's different now because maybe back then women didn't have these type of options and they just depended on...
We weren't making as much money.
That too. And I feel like now women, back then you'll have your mind like, yeah, I want to wait until I get married to do this. Baby, we getting it done on our own.
Period. And because we don't have a choice. And it just goes to show that like we're the superior sex.
Listen.
It's just like, it is what it is. We're smarter. We adapt. I feel like we're more adaptable. Women are better at multitasking. Yeah. And so that being said, we're able to accomplish more things in a short amount of time. I feel like, usually in my experience, women are just a lot more, what am I trying to say? I guess freer thinking. Men be focused and like, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is this and this, and we be like, oh, I'm finna go to Jamaica. I'm gonna buy me a house. I'm gonna start a business.
I'm also gonna get another degree.
Right.
Literally.
Start a podcast, and don't let us break up with you. We're gonna have
do it double the time. Run the laps.
We're gonna make another 30,000 that year. We're gonna have been on 5 vacations. We gonna save for a house.
We gonna check out those stats because I asked that because I feel like I've noticed that more women, they're buying the houses. But
as we should. We're heads of households. That's what it is. Yeah.
What do you personally think sets you apart from other real estate brokers in Nashville or just in Middle Tennessee?
So at the end of the day, I think that real estate is essentially sales. I don't feel like I'm super salesy type of person, but I feel like in sales, like one of the golden rules is know your product. And me having a degree in interior design, my background being in basically home renovations and constructions, working for Sherwin-Williams, knowing paint products, knowing different materials and how homes are constructed. I can draw floor plans, I can design. And so that being said, I know my products and I also know people, and it just sets me apart because I'm able to inform people on what they need to know about the house that is not necessarily just meets the eye.
Yeah. Is there anything that you think I should have asked you that I didn't? We went over a lot, but I'm just trying to make sure we hit the marks about the do's and don'ts when you buy a home. We talked about the resources and everything. Anything else you think I should have asked you?
I don't know if we said do's and don'ts, but don't go buy a car. Don't go buy a boat.
When you're trying to buy a house.
Don't go buy a motorcycle. Don't run up your credit card. Don't stop paying your bills on time. Like, just, anything that, like, those are red flags. And don't quit your job. That's like a big thing. Do not quit your job. Like, I've had so many people like, oh, yeah, I quit my job last month. Can I still buy a house? No.
Wow.
It takes 2 years of being an entrepreneur and filing taxes to be able to purchase. So just know if you quit your job, it's going to be 2 years and you have to show significant income on taxes to be able to purchase again. Keep your job, quit your job after you buy the house.
That's good to know.
Buy the car after you buy the house.
Yes. The bigger purchase is more important anyway. Buy that house. Focus on the house.
Exactly.
What are some common mistakes that first-time buyers should steer clear of?
I definitely say with going with a realtor or a lender who doesn't have your best interest in mind and buying something that you can't afford. So a lender who knows your financial situation is not going to try to encourage you to spend past and a realtor too, is not going to encourage you to spend past what your capacity is. And you may can afford it. You might be able to physically afford it, but that does not mean you should buy it. And so I think that's a common mistake. I also think a common mistake is only going for aesthetics and looks.
Yeah.
Like, you're not choosing, you can't choose a man or a woman or whatever you like for just for the looks. You have to know about the health of that home, how much money you're going to need to put into it in the next few years, and definitely not having any type of savings. You want to have savings, you want to have people you can trust working with you, and you don't want to buy something just for the looks.
This is Alexis, and we just talked about it.